and talks, and Japan does all their actions quietly. This is going to, I think, have a quick and sudden end. I don't know how long it'll be, but I don't think it's going to be like 4 or 5 months. I really don't. As wars go, if it's 3, 4, 5 months, that's rather short. Look at the Ukraine war. It's now in the 3rd year or more.
Are these conflicts likely to affect the price of gold?
You know, when I was doing the gold chapter for the June report, it's exactly the question I had to answer. And my conclusion is that it has an effect, yeah, but not to lift, because we've already had a big lift. We've had a substantial move from 25 and 2,700 up to 32 and 3,300, and it's rather stable there. So what has happened with the gold price in response to conflicts? It's gone sideways. It's gone sideways and is buying time. It has become stable. We did not get a pullback. Because of the war, we did not get a pullback. And we might not, because it's meeting up with the moving averages right now. So what I concluded was we're going to go sideways for a little while, and then we're going to meet the moving averages and struggle with them, because when that usually happens, the price goes up. So we're going to struggle with the desire to go up and the tendency to go up, and it might continue sideways a little more until, for instance, I don't know, the U.S. government announces a couple more months of gigantic deficits, despite all the hokum that President Trump spouts about a great economy. If we have a great economy, we wouldn't have such big deficits.
Do you think silver could be a safe haven play going forward?
Yeah, in fact, silver is doing the same thing. It's going sideways. It's stayed above 34, 35. Now, remember a few months ago, the big battle was we just can't get above 34, 35. We can't get above 34 and a half and stay there. We can't do it. This is not working. How many times have we hit 34 and come back? We've been over 34 and a half now the entire month of June, and now 3 days, or the two, what day is today? Today is the 3rd, so we're at the 4th day, counting the end of June. 3 full days of July. All right, we got almost 5 weeks now where we've been above 34 and a half. I think the war guaranteed no pullback. Same thing. We could have gone back and revisited 33 and 32 and bounced back up quickly to get above 34. No, we never went below 34 and 34 and a half. We didn't go below that. And that was very good news. And it causes damage, deep damage to the players who are leveraged, because they get a time limit. They're told, you got 3 days. And others with more structured, they get a little more time when they have structured leveraged investments. They run out of time. And that's exactly what's going on right now. We're buying time, going sideways. I love the flat line. I love how silver is flat and not volatile. I love it. Let it continue moving in time and hit the moving averages, which are all rising. And then we'll have a tendency and pressure to go up again. And I think silver this time, it's going to go up from limited supply out of Mexico. If you add to Mexico, Ecuador, Chile, and Peru, and Argentina, you add them together, you got 58% of global silver supply, and China is lapping almost all of it. All of it. Almost. And they're doing it in the form of concentrated ore. They're going straight to the miners and say, give us your concentrated ore, which, by the way, is like 90, 92, 94%. I just think of it as 90% or better. Silver. And there's junk in there. It's not pure. So they take it and they go straight to the refinery. China is buying concentrated ore. from the Andes region, including Mexico. And Mexico is limiting exports, except to China. Mexico is gradually turning communist. Now, one of the freakish phenomena in the West right now is that countries are turning communist without ever using the word communist. They're calling it liberal. They're calling it ultra-liberal. They're calling it, national security measures. Mexico is about to shut down exports of silver for national security reasons in order to take care of their own, and all of their descriptions are parallel with communism. Mexico. All right, that's what I think is going to take silver to $50 before the end of the year. Now, I remind people, in March and April, I said we're going to get above 35 and try to make a move to 50. We got above 35 and we got stalled, and I found out why. The big players just bought more time by pushing out their shorts into September. I think September is going to be a time when they have a great deal of difficulty continuing in pushing it out. I think we're going to probably break 40 in September, and that's only 2 months away. It's very exciting. I think the next big gains are going to be silver, not gold. But gold is often regarded to be the anti-war hedge. This time I think it's going to be the anti-U.S. dollar, U.S. Treasury bond crisis hedge. I think we're moving headlong into a U.S. Treasury bond crisis.
The U.S. dollar is seeing new lows not seen since early 2022 as a lower U.S. dollar good for trade and interest rates.
Well, we have to be more specific. The dollar is seeing more lows. How? What? The dollar index, the USDX, is seeing more lows. Well, what is that? Well, that's an index based on toilet paper. It's got a 52% weight on the euro toilet paper. It's got something like a 10% weight on the British pound toilet paper. It has a weight against the yen, which is not toilet paper, but it's severely harmed. So the dollar might go down versus toilet paper. Who gives a shit? Okay, if the dollar goes down versus the euro, that means that Trump's economy can do some exports to Europe. Are they in any position to import? Or are they too busy with the Ukraine war, the Russian sanctions, and declaring nitrogen as a pollutant? Like morons! Europe is not going to do a great deal of importing with a cheaper dollar. Okay, this is a ruse. A ruse. The dollar is seeing new lows versus gold, the super currency. The dollar is seeing new lows versus a purchasing power index for buying food, for paying insurance, paying your utilities, buying materials for a room addition when your little kid grows up. Is the dollar decline as little as it is? Okay, they make a lot of news out of really tiny movement down versus the toilet paper Forex index. Is the dollar decline good for interest rates? I don't know. I don't think it's really related to interest rates. The interest rates are really, I think, a function of, I think they're a function of the U.S. government debt. Powell is now being urged by Trump to resign. The Fed chairman, Jerome Powell. Trump wants him to lower interest rates. I'm sick of this crap. I'm going to threaten to dissolve the Federal Reserve. I want lower interest rates. Well, I think Powell is actually a little more prudent and responsible for saying, no, you haven't reduced the deficits. You got a $36, $37, $38 trillion deficit. the interest borrowing costs for the debt now exceed the military budget. It's over $1 trillion a year. You don't lower interest rates in that environment. And I made a forecast, Jim. I made it a year ago. I said if they lower interest rates, you're going to see the long end go up in interest rates for expected inflation. And we got that. Maybe not for that reason, but we got higher interest rates. There's a lot of moving parts here. I don't really believe the dollar index can go down a lot, because if it does, it'll bring about a global depression because they own treasury bonds. We exported toxic paper. If it goes down in value, it wrecks the countries holding it. This is not complicated.
The S&P 500 and NASDAQ have hit new all-time highs again. The Dow looks to be picking up steam, heading towards new highs as well. Do you think the stock market see an end to the Iran, Israel, and Russia-Ukraine conflicts?
I think they see an end to the Iranian war. I don't think the Ukraine situation factors in at all. That's just my opinion. I think that the stock market is expecting a rate cut. They're also expecting, I think, some substantial foreign investment following through on the trade talks and all the pledges that have amounted to at least $2 or $3 trillion. Remember always that the stock market can benefit from funny money coming out of thin air, investing in the financial markets. Notice that Del Monte, a 140-year-old company, declared bankruptcy this week. Del Monte, food company, canned goods. The economy is not doing well. The financial markets are rising because of funny money and an expectation, I believe, of a rate cut, which I think would be a wrong move.
Could strength in copper be signaling something to do with the Iran, Israel, and Russia-Ukraine conflicts?
I don't think so. I don't have a strong opinion on copper, but let me just say this. Gold and silver are up, and copper has been lagging. Platinum is making good new highs, so hey, let's invest in copper. It may not last, but remember, if we get movement on the several $1 trillion of pledged trade talk pledges, a lot of copper is going to be used because some of it is pledged for AI centers and electric generating centers, data centers. That's a lot of copper. So it could be an AI and data center play. Copper generally is considered to have a doctorate, a PhD in economics, and I buy into that. But this time around, I don't think it's an economic indicator. I think it's a sector indicator. But it could be just like, as I said, platinum is way up. Hey, let's pull up copper. Where are the contracts? Where's the economic growth?
Rare earths seem to be a concern. Are there solutions for the supply issues?
Not really, except relaxed trade conflict. China's a big exporter. Okay, let's just assume that Greenland has some. How many years before the supply hits? 3? 4 years? Okay, Russia has pledged that if the United States supports their peace movement and it's successful, Russia will supply a boatload of rare earth metals. So that's a supply solution. We got to work with Russia to end the Ukraine war. And I got to add something regarding the Iran-Israel war that I didn't mention before. My military sources have said, and there's not 3 or 4 of them, it's 1 or 2, regarding this point. Russia gave Trump a free hand to fix the Middle East, and I think that's to get rid of databases for Epstein and Iran extortion and control. And in return, Trump is going to support Putin in Ukraine. So if that happens, rare earth supply is going to be plentiful and China might get cut out. Forget Greenland. That's a future thought.
Could Bitcoin be a safe haven? And if it is, why?
I think Bitcoin is probably going to do rather well, but others are going to do better in the digital finance area, like XRP, XLM, maybe even XDC, which is going to be the financial market, stock and bond transaction coin, XDC. I think Bitcoin is going to have a sell-off maybe later this year, and the beneficiary is going to be XRP. I'm expecting some. I don't want to get into a long answer on this, but let me just say that there's been a lot of Treasury bond sales, and XRP, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. At USD Tether has been the beneficiary of that, and it doesn't go up in value. It goes up in volume. Well, it's got volume like a tick full of blood on the jaw of a dog that has come out of the forest. I think USD Tether, the stable coin for the dollar, is going to shed a lot of volume. It's not going to shed price. It can't. It's a stable coin. It's going to shed a lot of volume, and so is Bitcoin, because they use Bitcoin to create the USD Tether. A hidden weird phenomenon now is that Bitcoin is remaining elevated in order to keep the supply of Tether strong, in order to protect the U.S. Treasury complex, because foreign nations like the BRICS are selling treasuries. I don't like Bitcoin all that much. I like XRP. And if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll see an entire chapter where I justify why XRP is going to go up multiples in the next several months.
In a post on X this week, General Mike Flynn suggested President Trump should dissolve the Federal Reserve immediately for national security reasons alone. Your thoughts?
Oh, boy. I don't have much an opinion on that. Trump came out yesterday and said that Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, chairman of the Fed, should resign. Well, there's a big battle going on. I think the Fed doesn't want to lower interest rates as long as the U.S. government deficit is bloated and continues to get bigger. Trump wants it for economic stimulus to lower price inflation, and that's noble, but we haven't fixed the debt problem. How would it be if Trump says, we'd like you to lower the interest rates, and we're going to bring in sufficient amount of gold to cover $10 trillion in the debt? Let me repeat that. How would it be if Fed Chairman Powell were urged to lower interest rates if Trump brought in $10 trillion worth of gold to cover two-thirds or almost two-thirds of the debt? That's how you get traction. And I think there's a lot of gold out there waiting to come into the game, and we're not ready yet because we still got a stranglehold of the cabal. So, hey, nice idea, Mike Flynn, but, you can't do that in a vacuum.
Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has been in office for just over 2 months. In a conversation with Mark Carney, President Trump said, "Speak to you after the election," like somehow Trump knew Carney would win. This was posted online. Would like your thoughts. Trump installed Carney to liquidate the bankrupt corruption of Canada. Soon the announcement that Canada has been annexed will happen.
I think Trump knew Carney would win because they rigged the election, not because of any inside word. But there might have been some inside word that they were going to rig the election. Remember, it was just, I think, a month ago that we heard the fake King Charles, who replaced the dead Prince Charles, announced that Canada had no legal rights to their own territory. That's the big issue, in my opinion. I don't have a lot of good information, and I can't really speak too much about the bankrupt corporation of Canada, except that the western provinces are in revolt, except for British Columbia, of course, because that's a colony of China. So I don't really know.
Prime Minister Carney and his Liberals just passed Bill C-5, also known as the One Canadian Economy Act. Could this be by design to make Canada into one state, the 51st state?
I think it's more to bring into the fold the western provinces that are full of minerals and energy deposits. I don't think it's for the 51st state. If there is an annexation and it's the United States of North America, I think that's a couple of years off. Right now, the problem in Canada is that Saskatchewan and Alberta are in revolt. That's the problem. So any bill like this, I think, is to address that revolt and eliminate it.
Real estate markets are turning down. Could real estate turning down be tied to an economic reset?
Oh, maybe. I think it's going to be, I got to say something. 2 years ago, we had a commercial real estate crash. Why are they saying that the real estate market is in trouble now? It's been in trouble for 3 years. So this maybe is round two in a decline of a very serious nature in the real estate market. We've had residential problems for at least the last 2 years. I know two people, one in Texas and one elsewhere, and they're unable to sell their property, and it's a nice property, even after a 30% price reduction. This is not a new real estate problem and a decline. This has been going on since 2022. We have a real estate crash. We had banks refusing to roll over 7-year commercial mortgages. We had high-rise buildings being confiscated, the keys handed over. That's the phrase. You hand the keys over and the title. You can't get a new mortgage. You ran out of time. I know someone who has a good friend who lost $25 million that way. 4-way partnership, a property in northern Midwest in the United States. This is not new. Maybe they will claim that the real estate market's in trouble. We need to lower interest rates to revive it. Maybe that'll be like the pretext. Remember, almost no policy is for what they say. Almost no war is for what they say. Because they don't want the people to get all worked up, and they don't want the people to know what the hell is going on, because most of the people never know what's going on.
If you lived in Canada, would you move to another country or stay and fight?
I'd move out immediately. Not just for political reasons, but for weather reasons. And let's face it, Vancouver's lovely, and it doesn't have a harsh winter. Toronto is wonderful, but it gets really cold and windy, and I'm not sure I'd like to live there, even though it's a great city, and it's changing demographically. I've got a couple clients who say, Toronto's really changed. If you walk down the street in the main business areas, you're likely to see only half of the people with white faces. And if you walk down the street in Vancouver, what percentage have Asian faces? Okay, Canada is in trouble. I wouldn't want to stick around. When they came down hard on the truckers' convoy and stole all the money, to me, that's time to get out. They stole all the people's donations to the truckers on the convoy. Get out. I have no time for the Canadian government. I have no idea why there isn't revolt on the Ottawa Parliament. Why are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police not doing anything? How much money is the Chinese Communist Party paying them? Why is there nothing in the news? Oh, I'm sorry. The news is conquered by the Chinese and the Parliament. I tell you, we need to turn this around. I've got to be careful with my words, by controlling some press and controlling. Like in the United States, there are about 7 or 8 of them. Take one, like CNN. Take it. Charge the VPs with sedition. Take it. Force a divestiture. Take CNN. Make it a truth network and destroy the other networks. Unfortunately, in Canada, I think you've got just one network. I'm not sure about that.
Where can our listeners subscribe to your hat trick letter and reach out for you for a consult?
It's www.golden-jackass.com. And I got to say, I finished the 21st year in April, so I'm into my 22nd year. And let me admit some things that are very personal. I enjoy the work. When I get going on writing the report, I'm immersed. I lose a sense of time. Hours go by. It's a labor of love. And I know that there's a certain friend of mine in Texas who disagrees with that. She said, no, you're paid. I don't care. It's a labor of love in which I get paid. Now, maybe that's a contradiction in terms. I don't give a crap. I love the work. I love the promotion. I love the consults. What I don't like is the attacks that I get because I'm exposing fraud. I'm exposing criminal activity. I'm exposing trafficking. I'm exposing the battle of good and God versus evil and Satan. And I'm being attacked. And it's wearing me down. And I continue. And I thank everybody for hitting the donate button and helping me out. Because I need help. I've had more events in the last 60 days that are painful. And they're car crash deaths. I've had 6 car crash deaths since 2017. None before that. Okay, this is very, very unusual. These are 3 Sigma events. I love the work. I want to continue the work. I'm having a hard time from all the attacks. They're 3 Sigma events. They're evil. They're demonic. They're occult, deep forces. And for those who don't understand that, maybe it's best you don't. But if you do, help me out. And if you're sitting on the fence, maybe you tell yourself and convince yourself that deep, dark, occult, powerful forces don't exist, and you're dead wrong and possibly a coward looking into the mirror. Okay, golden-jackass.com. Sign up for the newsletter. You don't have to read the whole thing. Read the chapters you enjoy. And go back to it in a week. Read some others. So what? Read the whole thing. Don't read the whole thing. Who cares? Sign up for a consult. I've got available time. Hit the donate button if you don't like reading and you'd rather just watch and listen to podcasts and support my work with donations. I got several people who are making regular ones, and I'm not on Patreon, so it depends on them. And if you're wealthy and you love what I'm doing and you want to support me and make sure I stay strong, hit the sponsor button, which is for 4 figures. And believe me, people do. So join them. Thanks for having me on, Jim. It's always good. I like the format.